No, don't worry about it.
Alrighty, welcome everybody. Welcome to episode number 32. And this is an actual rehash of last night's episode. There's a couple of people that actually wanted me to redo the show again. They wanted to go over some of the options that I presented yesterday. And today we've got my co-host in the dark there. It's Steve. If you know, he's got his American shirt t-shirt, I think, or American flag t-shirt.
Hey, yeah, it's a little bit dark. I didn't pay the bill.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know.
Hey, I'm trying to conserve power.
Oh wow. Well, that's not good. Well,
let me get a little bit more light in here.
Yeah.
Hey, so how you been?
I'm doing good. We're here trying to wrap up this back to school episodes. We've got one more next week that we're gonna do, but we started doing the back to school episodes last week, if you recall. So this week we've got an episode where we cover not just all the Apple Kool-Aid, but some of the Windows and Chromebook options out there. Because after all, 90% of the world uses something other than Apple. It's hard for the Kool-Aid drinkers to believe that, but that's just the truth.
So there's only 10% of us?
Only 10%.
Wow.
It's been that way since 1976.
So how is 10% making all that money? Huh?
Well, it's because they charge a hell of a lot, But anyway, so today's episode, we're going to cover the top laptops according to PC Magazine. This month's edition, they rolled out the top 10 laptops for school, work, and play. And we're going to actually go through those tonight, just like we did last night. So I'm going to go ahead and flip to the virtual theater.
Hey, do we have popcorn?
No popcorn. I stripped out the virtual theater completely.
What?
Yeah, I had to make room. So let me get this ready here.
Are you recording, sir?
I am recording. Alrighty. Okay, so here we go. We're in our virtual theater. We've got the screen edge to edge, no bezels on the side. It's just a big ass screen.
Woo!
So, as I said, we've got the best laptops in 2022 for school, home, and play. And we'll go ahead and get started here. So the top laptop that was rated by PC Magazine this month was a laptop by HP. It's called the Pavilion Aero. And this laptop comes with an AMD Ryzen 7 processor. So Steve, are you familiar with the different types of processors out there right now?
I've heard it in the past, but why don't you refresh our memory?
All right. Well, there's actually two types of processors out there for the PCs. There's processors made by Intel, and there's processors made by AMD. So there's really only two manufacturers besides Apple.
All right.
And on the Intel side, they've got the i3, the i5, the i7, and the i9 processors. On the
those odd numbers.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they picked odd numbers, but that's what they've gone with.
All right.
And surprisingly, AMD's adopted the same methodology. There's the Ryzen 3, the Ryzen 5, the Ryzen 7. And in this particular case, it has an AMD Ryzen 7 processor, which is comparable to the i7. This laptop comes with a 13.3 inch diagonal WUXGA display. The 13-inch laptop is kind of second to the smallest. There are some out there that are 11. There's some that are 14 inches. There's some that are 15.6. And then there's some that are 17 inches. And as I mentioned last night, the sweet spot always tends to be the 14-incher. It's not too big. It's not too small. The 15 inches have been around for a long time. And the 17 inches have been out for a very long time. But as I mentioned last night, I consider a 17-inch laptop a boat anchor. You could literally tie a rope around it, take it on your boat, and throw it over, and it would serve as a boat anchor. They're just too big, Most of those people that do get 17-inch laptops are either gamers or maybe older folks that don't want to have a desktop on their desk. They want to have the versatility of a laptop, but they don't want to have a small screen, so they opt for a 17-inch display. But
it makes sense.
It does. I mean, for that kind of stuff, it does. But as I mentioned last night, I don't believe that a 17-inch laptop is practical for a student. I mean, for them to haul a 17-incher weighing about 12 pounds on a backpack across campus, I think they'll eventually develop all kinds of back problems because it's just too heavy.
Hey, you watch Netflix? You gotta go on Facebook? Huh? You gotta see me?
They can do that with an 11-incher.
It's too small.
It's not the size of the snake. It's how it's wiggled.
Alrighty now, next.
So anyway, this laptop is 13.3 inches. It comes with 16 gigs of RAM. And as I mentioned last night, today, you don't want to settle for anything less than 16 bare minimum.
Right.
If you go out there and get a 4 gigabyte or a 8 gigabyte laptop out there, you're kind of asking for trouble down the road. You're going to face...
You're doing yourself an injustice.
Yeah, you really are. So my recommendation has always been get 1632 if you can, afford it. Now it comes with integrated AMD Radeon graphics, And like processors, there's three major types of graphics chipsets out there. There's graphics chipsets made by AMD, and that's their Radeon their Radeon chipset. There is actually chipsets produced by NVIDIA, and Intel has its own brand of graphics chipsets. And in the order of best, better, and okay, it's NVIDIA first, Radeon second, and lastly Intel. Unfortunately, you don't have a choice when it comes to the laptop which one to pick. You pretty much are going to get whatever the laptop, comes with. But, the AMD Radeon has been around for a long time, and NVIDIA's been around for a long time. So, this laptop comes with 512 gigabytes of storage. It's solid state drive, so there's no mechanical parts, no magnets, no needles. It's flash memory, so it's fast. That means that your boot up is in like milliseconds versus seconds. It comes with one USB-C port. It comes with a display port. It comes with two USB Type A's, so you can connect printers, cameras, whatever, to the laptop. And it comes with an HDMI port. Now, what's phenomenal about this laptop, it's got 15 hours of battery life. And it includes Windows 11. It's currently retailing for $749.
Not bad at all.
No, it's not a bad little laptop. It really isn't. So the next one is the Dell Inspiron 16. This laptop comes with a 12th generation Intel Core i7. It contains 10 cores. It comes with Intel's graphics chipset. And it's a 16-inch full high-definition display. So it's somewhere in between a 15 and a 17. I've never seen one. I've never touched one. I really don't know how a 16 correlates to a 15 or a 17. So I can't really tell you much about this laptop with respects to it being 16, inches wide. It also comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but this one comes with a terabyte solid state drive.
Wow.
Yeah. This one comes with two USB Type A ports. It comes with a USB Type C port, but that Type C port also has power delivery. And it comes with a display port. Now let me talk a little bit about what I mean by power delivery. On normal laptops, on the Apple side, you've got MagSafe. On the Windows side, you've got power adapters that look like bricks. And for a long time, to power a Windows laptop, you basically used some kind of brick. Well, by having a USB Type-C port with power delivery, you can literally charge the laptop over a standard USB-C cable as long as you have the appropriate little charging block. So you can either charge it through the normal power adapter or through a Type-C USB. That also comes with a one audio jack and an HDMI port. And just like the HP, it sports 15 hours of battery life, and it comes with Windows 11. This one's a little higher. It retails for $999. Have you ever owned a Dell laptop?
Several.
Yeah.
And desktops.
Yeah. I've never had any issues with them. I have a 5-year-old Dell XPS 13, which is a 13-inch laptop, and it works well. I mean, I can't upgrade it to Windows 11 because on any machine today out there that you want to upgrade to Windows 11, you have to have the TPM module. And without the TPM module, and don't ask me what TPM stands for, but basically all the new laptops and desktops have a TPM module. So that was a decision that Microsoft made to kind of push people to buy new hardware. And the way the software installation works, if the TPM module doesn't exist, you're not going to be able to upgrade to Windows 11.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've several Dell's desktops, laptops, and that reminds me, I still have one that I need to transfer all the files from.
Yeah.
So they've been good.
Well, you've had a mentor who taught you how to do that.
Yeah. But hey, I need that mentor to come back and reteach.
I accept credit cards now.
Hey, this is the wrong time of month. All right.
Aye.
Who's about to start?
I know. Tell me about it. So the next one is a gaming laptop, and I don't know if you ever heard of MSI before.
No, I'm not too familiar with that brand.
Well, MSI is big on gaming laptops, and they're also big on gaming motherboards. If you want to build a gaming computer and you want something that's a little top of the line, you want to go with an MSI motherboard. But they also have gaming laptops, and this one is the MSI Katana. It's a 15.6-inch gaming laptop. And that one comes with an 11th generation Intel Core i7. It also comes with 16 gigs of RAM. Now this one only comes with a 512 gigabyte SSD storage. Now the awesome thing about this gaming laptop is it comes with the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 graphics chipset. This is second to the last top-of-the-end graphics card. You have 1050s, 2050s, 3060s, and 3080s. So this is the second one before the top. So for gaming, that's a big deal. You want to have a laptop that sports the best graphics chipset out there. And NVIDIA is top of the line. In fact, I use an NVIDIA card for this show for streaming. It works well. Mine's not a 3060, but it works. Now, it only comes with Windows 10, which I think that after a few boot ups, whoever buys one of these will get the prompt to upgrade to Windows 11 pretty quick. So that shouldn't be an issue. And it only comes in black. So if you want pink, not going to happen. Now what's interesting is they throw in a 32 gig USB card. I'm not sure why, but I guess it doesn't really cost a whole hell of a lot. But it is a little bit more pricier than the other two. It's $1,200. So that was the third laptop. Now, the next one that was mentioned by PC Magazine is the Microsoft Surface Pro 8. And if you remember a few years ago, this debuted as an alternative to the iPad. This was Microsoft's response. Okay. And back in those days, well, it was, top of the line, But unfortunately, they haven't done a whole lot with it. I don't know if it's because of the COVID and all the chip shortage. I'm not really sure what's going on over there, but this Surface Pro is a little disappointing. And, I usually don't knock Microsoft a whole lot, but I am going to knock them out today.
Don't you have one? Don't you have one?
No. Jimmy actually had one. Had two of them. Yeah. And they work. I mean, they work for normal stuff. They do. Now, it only comes with an i5, which is the mid-level processor by Intel. And it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM.
Dude, 8 gigs of RAM, what can you do? Not much.
Well, for normal word processing, spreadsheets, surfing the web, that kind of stuff, yeah. if you want to do any kind of video editing, you want to do graphics work, um, this laptop is just not going to cut it. You know, it also only comes with 128 gigabytes of storage. Now, as I mentioned last night, anytime you get a phone or a computer or a tablet and they tell you it's got X amount of storage, okay, you literally have to subtract about 30 gigs from that storage, because that storage does not count the operating system that's loaded and then all the bloatware that's installed on top of that. So by the time you get the machine, you're lucky if you get 60 gigs, really. So, and it's the same thing with the phones. You know, you go out there, you buy a phone, it's rated for this amount of gigabytes. You take it home, you go to your files icon, or forget the files, the managed storage icon on Apple or Android, and you find out that you really didn't get 128 gigs. You got something far less. And then by the time you know it, you take all those selfies and all those videos, and by the time you know it, you're running out of space. And it's the same thing with the laptops. Now, the thought process, as you know, a few years back, you know, there was all this talk about the cloud, the cloud, the cloud, and the cloud. And everybody was hot and heavy over being on the cloud. And what that really meant was that instead of storing your files locally on your laptop or your tablet or your phone, you were going to store them on iCloud if you had an Apple device. Or you were going to store them on Google Drive if you were a Google person. Or you were going to store up on Microsoft OneDrive, you know. And there's advantages of using those services. There really is. And you don't realize it until your computer craps out and you had all your stuff stored, all those pictures, and the computer craps out and you find out they're gone. Well, if you use the cloud drives to have all that stuff, let's say your computer craps out, the next time you get another one, regardless of what type, you can bring all that stuff down. So the thought, yeah, go ahead.
You're right. I recently purchased a computer, and the OneDrive, saved me as it dropped everything. Yeah. I had set up to the cloud, and I had set it on the OneDrive, and boom.
And you know, for old timers like ourselves that have lived in a non-cloud environment, it's very difficult to make that transition. I'll tell you today that I have a habit of still storing a lot of stuff locally on the hard drive, whether it's, you know, for this or for my work. I can't seem to get out of storing it on the local hard drive. And I think part of it is because it's so easy, because it defaults right away to the C drive. So, you know, if you're doing something quick and fast, you just save it to the C drive. But, you know, you run the risk of one day losing it, you know. So I think this is the issue, is that the low storage is due to the fact they expect you to use cloud services. But a lot of people don't, you know, sadly, they don't, you know. Now this 13-inch screen is a touch screen, unlike the other laptops, okay? It's touchscreen, which means that you can use it as a tablet. Unlike the iPad, this is a real computer. It is a real Windows computer, so any software that you run for Windows, you should be able to run it on the Surface Pro 8. It does come with Intel graphics chipset, but it only comes with one port, and it's a Thunderbolt 4 port. So that means if you want to add a wireless mouse, you have two options. Either you give up your USB port, all right, and use a USB mouse, or you can use a Bluetooth mouse, right? But then let's say instead of wireless, you want a hardwire connection. Well, how do you connect it? Well, you have to get a a Thunderbolt 4 port to an RJ45 converter. Well, once you do that, guess what? You have no more ports. So what you're going to have to do if you want to replicate your ports, especially USB, you're going to have to get a USB Thunderbolt 4 to USB hub so that you can connect all your devices. But there's only one port. It sucks, you know, in that respects. And it comes with Windows 10. That one's about $850. Have you ever seen one of these?
No.
Okay, they usually have them at Best Buy. And they're neat. I mean, they really are neat machines, but Microsoft has not done much with this line lately.
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't attract me. It doesn't call my attention.
Well, the thing is that where they come in handy is in work environments. They really do. Especially if you're moving around. That's where they come in handy. But beyond that, they're just not as powerful as they should be. And I don't know all the reasons. So,
gotcha.
The next one is another Microsoft. It's called the Surface Laptop Go 2. That one, just like the Surface Pro, comes with the i5 processor. It also only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. But this one, they're a little bit more generous. They provide a 256 gigabyte solid state drive. And it comes with Windows 10. It's actually cheaper. It's $600. So that's another alternative if you're looking at that. The next one is a Lenovo Chromebook, and it's the only Chromebook that PC Magazine actually thought was worth mentioning.
Dude, but it has 4 gig of RAM.
I know, and that's the deal. A lot of people, they opted to buy Chromebooks, and it was because they were cheap. I mean, you can get one for like $200. This one's $430. But unlike some of the others that had like Celerons and some of the lower end Intel processors, this one comes with the entry-level i3 processor. It's the 10th generation. But you're right, it only comes with 4 gigs of RAM. And what's worse, it only comes with 64 gigabytes of storage. But once again, you got to get out of that mindset, because what Google expects is for you to store everything on Google Drive. And that you're going to use Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Slides. And by the way, this whole screen, I actually designed it with Google Slides.
Wow.
I'm trying to see how far I can get with the Google free stuff and without having to pay Microsoft for Office. So far it works okay. It does come with a 13-inch full high definition display. So it's 1080p and it's touch, which is very surprising because, as you know, Chrome OS is not touch. But what Google's trying to do, just like Apple's trying to do, is to merge their operating systems. On the Google side, you've got Android, which primarily has been a phone operating system. And then you have Chrome OS. So what they're trying to do, and I think eventually will happen, is the merging of the two operating systems, which will include touch. And I believe the same thing down the road will happen on the Apple side. I believe that the merging of the Mac and the iPad is going to happen. In fact, I tend to believe that the days of the Mac are probably numbered once those iPad Pros really start kicking butt. Because unlike iPad OS, Mac OS is not touch. Now, personally for me, I don't like touch displays. I don't like them because they smudge my screen. They leave fingerprints and stuff like that. So I think they need to do something on these screens so that when you touch them, it doesn't leave you know, manchas, as they say. So even though my laptop, my Dell laptop is touchscreen, I don't use it. I don't touch my screen because I don't like to see smudges.
At work, we have Dells and their touchscreen, and a mouse.
And they're what?
I use the mouse.
Yeah, it's gross.
But
I mean, you don't know what they've eaten, what they've touched, what they've rubbed.
No, they're personal laptops.
Oh, okay. So
but still, I still use the mouse.
Yeah, I still use the mouse. I don't like touchscreen, at least not on the laptop. You know, the tablet, I can deal with it, but still, you know, it's not the most cleanliness thing to do. Now, surprisingly, this one comes with a backlit keyboard. And as I mentioned last night, you know, people say, well, why do you want a backlit keyboard? Well, let's say you're working from and you're in bed. You got the lights off. You know, you can't really see very well in the dark, so the backlit keyboard works pretty well for that. In addition, if you're somebody that travels a lot and you're going across the country 3 or 4 hours, you know, the airplane cabin lights are dim or darkened and you want to work, well, you know, having that backlit keyboard comes in handy. I actually like mine because, you know, when I'm downstairs working on my laptop, I usually don't have the lights on, so it's a little dim. And, you know, at our age, our eyesight starts failing us, so we need all the extra light we can muster. So
I do not disagree.
You know, and of course it comes with a webcam and Wi-Fi, and it's Chrome OS based. It does retail for $430, but like I said, I'm not really keen on these Chromebooks. I really don't think that they're worth buying. They're very low power, very low storage. I think the Wi-Fi a lot of times sucks on these. So I'm not really sure the purpose of it, you know, is. But for whatever reason, PC Magazine thought it was great, you know. I'm not sure what cigarettes they were smoking, but this was not one that I wasn't very impressed by. The next one is one made by Asus. And I don't know if you're familiar with Asus, but they make laptops and they make motherboards. And I prefer their motherboards quite a bit. In fact, I've built like 3 machines this past year, and all the motherboards were made and manufactured by Asus. They've got a laptop. It's a Vivobook 17-inch laptop. They call it the home and business laptop. It's got an Intel Core i7, but it only comes with 4 cores. It does come with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's got a terabyte drive. And let me mention a little bit about cores. I don't know if you're familiar with what the cores actually do. You know, back in the old days when you had the Pentiums, they were typically single core. So all your jobs at the computer and the executions instructed were done by a single core. And then they introduced the dual core, which basically provided 2 cores and 2 pathways for computers to process instructions. Thus, they were made faster. So this is a 4-core processor. The machine that the show runs on, I believe, is 6 cores. So that's where those things come in handy. The more cores you have, the faster the machine is going to be. So this one comes with 16 gigs of RAM, and it comes with a terabyte solid state drive, but it's a 17-incher, and it actually comes with something a little higher than 1080p resolution. It's not 2K or 4K, but it's somewhere between 1080p and 2K. Once again, as I mentioned, I consider this a boat anchor. It's heavy. It comes with Intel graphics. It comes with 1 USB, 1 HDMI, an SD card reader, It does come with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Comes with a webcam, and they're nice. They'll even throw a USB hub for you. Since they're only throwing one USB port out there, they give you a hub. I don't know how many ports are on the hub. I think probably 4 or 5. But that way you can connect some of your other devices, on there. It does come with Windows 10. And like I said, it retails for about $870. But like I said, a 17-inch laptop is not something that I personally would consider for a student or even an old person that's, walking around, with it. I just think they're too heavy. I think my 13-inch XPS is heavy, and it's not, The next one is by MSI, and why PC Magazine even mentioned this one, I have no idea. Maybe just because it was MSI, but it's actually a 14-inch laptop, and it's one of those, like I said, the sweet spot, But it only comes with an i3, and believe it or not, it only comes with 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabyte storage. I think the big thing was that it was a 14-inch one, and it was a very thin bezel. I usually prefer laptops now and even monitors that are thin bezel or no bezel. I like the monitors and the displays to be edge to edge, right to left, top to bottom. I don't want to see black. Even TVs today, and I'll be honest, I don't have a TV that's edge to edge. I wish I did, because I really don't like that black plastic around it. Why? I don't know. I just don't, And it's the same thing now with laptops. I think it's a waste of real estate to wrap the display with so much plastic when it can be so much, edge to edge. It does come with Windows 10, and it retails for about $500. Like I said, I don't know why it made it on the list. I don't really think much of it, to be honest with you.
Again, i3, I don't know, man.
I know, right?
You buy that within a year, throw it out the window.
No, but within 6 months, as soon as they load up the storage, believe me, they'll be crying. The next one, which I have recommended quite a bit in the last 2 years, is the Lenovo Ideapad. And I don't know if you're familiar with Lenovo. I don't know if you know where the origins come from.
Nope.
Well, the Lenovo is a Chinese manufacturer, right? But back in the 90s, when IBM sold the IBM PC company, they sold it to Lenovo. And along with that went the ThinkPad line, which was, at that time, the top of the line laptops at the time. I mean, they were top notch. I had one. I mean, as you know, I worked at IBM, and, I had
you were the janitor, right?
A ThinkPad. Huh?
You were the janitor, right?
No, I wasn't the janitor.
What?
No. I was something above the janitor. But the thing about Lenovo, it's a pretty good brand. They do have the ThinkPad line, but they've come up with these Ideapads. And this one is an i5 11th gen. Now, the only thing, it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM, but it does come with a 512 gigabyte SSD. And it's, once again, it's in the sweet spot range. It's a 14-inch full high-definition display, 1080p. It does come with a fingerprint reader. So if you don't want to type in your password to log into the laptop, or you don't want to have to go to your phone to get the 2-factor code, you can actually use your fingerprint to actually access the laptop. And as you know, not even your twin has the same fingerprint. There's absolutely no way that somebody can, take your fingerprint and replicate it. So it does come with a fingerprint reader. It is touchscreen, and it comes with something that a lot of people don't really remember. But back when IBM released the ThinkPad, it actually released a track point. It was a small little thingamajig. It almost looked like they used to call it a penis, but it wasn't. But it was right in the middle of the keyboard, and it served as a mouse. So you moved it right, left, top, bottom, and it was basically a pointer, and it was very popular. And then, of course, they released the touchpad, which is what you also have on that laptop if you see on the screen. But it was pretty handy back in those days to use that little track point. It was kind of neat. It used to come in orange and blue primarily, and gray, but it was pretty handy. It comes with Windows 10. Now, what's interesting about these laptops, the ThinkPads and the Ideapads, a lot of people don't know, but these were the laptops that were carried on most of the space shuttle missions in the 1980s and the 90s. And I think they have a few of them on the space station that they use for scientific research. So these laptops by Lenovo can really handle some tough environments, including space. So, but I've recommended these laptops to quite a few people. I know somebody that has like 3 or 4 that they use them in a classroom style, and they're not bad for the price. They're like $600, and they're pretty rugged. If they can handle the vacuum of space, they should be able to handle anything down here, I would think. So the last one, of course, we couldn't end the show without talking about the Mac Air. And it's a typo there. It's really the Mac Air, not the MacBook Air. But PC Magazine actually picked the Mac Air that we reviewed last week based on the M1 processor.
Right.
It actually is a 13-inch display. It comes with the M1 processor, which is 8 cores. But it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. And I asked Doug this last week, why on earth would Apple settle for 8 gigs? Not only 8 gigs on this model, but 8 gigs on the M2 model. And the only thing that we could come up with was this mindset that you should not, well, in addition to the 256, by the way. And the mindset was that you should be focused on storing everything in iCloud. That you shouldn't be storing anything on the local hard drive. Right. Beyond applications, But 8 gigs, they could have done better. They could have added 16. But, Doug mentioned last week that, when you buy these Macs, you literally have to decide right then and there at purchase time how much you want, because you can't upgrade them after the fact. So 8 gigs, it'll work. It'll do what it's got to do. But if you can afford to get 16, and I don't know if they offer 16 on the Mac Air, the M1 based, I think the highest that you can go on the M2 based is like 24 gigabytes. And once again, that's kind of like, why did they stop at 24 gigabytes? Why couldn't they just do a full 32? Why cut somebody at, 8 gigabytes short? Just give them the full 32. I don't understand what Apple's rationale at times, but they like to be special. So this one once again comes with the 13-inch Retina display. It's not the liquid Retina display like the M2 has, but it does pretty good. And then the FaceTime camera is a 720p camera. It's not the 1080 like the M2. And once again, it comes with a backlit keyboard. That comes pretty handy, like I mentioned, when you're, in bed working. Not sure why you'd be working while you're in bed, but some people do. and of course, if you're flying somewhere and your cabin lights are off, I mean, the lighted keyboard comes in handy. Now, out of all the laptops, I've got to give Apple credit. They've got the highest battery life. As you saw in the two earlier models at the beginning, the Max you'll get on the Windows side is about 15 hours. Well, on the Mac side, you get a full 20 hours of battery life. So that's pretty impressive. And the price is pretty decent too. It's $899. I think the M2 is about $1,200 or something like that. But that one comes with like a 512 gigabyte SSD. It's got the 13-inch Retina display. It does come with 8 gigs, but you can move it up to 24. And the FaceTime camera is better. It's got a 1080p. And I mean, you can't go wrong if you're a student with a Mac Air. You really can't. I mean, Apple's always been good for education, but a lot of times they're pricey, and people can only afford what they can afford. Some people can only afford a $400 laptop. Some people can splurge a little bit and get an $800 laptop. Somebody may be able to want a gaming laptop while they're doing their homework. They can play, Fortnite somewhere. So it just depends. But definitely no 17 inchers, that's for sure. Unless you want to use them as a boat anchor. So what do you think?
My oldest have this Apple product and no issues so far.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my wife has had 2. One of them, the hard drive got full.
Yeah.
And she bought another one. And my oldest got it as a gift from her. And hey, no issues.
No, there's really not any issues, with the Mac Airs, the Apple product. I mean, it doesn't give you a reason not to buy the Apple Care. As you know, these things can fall and break. And it's not very easy for them to no, it's just that I've got a iPhone 6s that I use for testing, and I've got messages that come in as well from that thing. It's unbelievable. This little phone is still phenomenal even after these many years. It's old reliable. It works. It works really well. So, but yeah, I mean, on the Windows side, you've got, Dell. I've never had any issues with. HP, for the most part, I've never had any issues with. The only problem is that HP hasn't always had the latest and greatest of processors. They make great printers. I mean, you can't beat an HP when it comes to it being a printer. But then, Epson is just as good, and Brother is just as good too. But you can't go wrong with HP. But if I had my preference, I would probably go with the Inspiron 16 on the Dell side. Maybe because I'm more familiar with Dell and I'm comfortable with Dell, and I'm pretty comfortable with HP too. I have a few HP laptops also. It's just not Dell, but for me personally, if I want to go out there in public, I'll take my Dell.
And I'll take my wife's Apple.
Yeah. Oh, you're not gonna do what some of the Windows folks do? They steal the little Apple stickers and they apply them over the Dell logo.
My wife's on my logo's Apple laptop.
So are you going to get any laptops for your daughters this year?
As a matter of fact, I just purchased an iPad Pro.
Yeah.
All right. I got a security system installed, and instead of using the monitor, I'm going to use the iPad as the monitor. Yeah. All right. So Yeah, and in reference to laptops,
Yeah.
we got the plastic. All right.
Yeah.
I got my little one at HP, and
Yeah.
I got my oldest one. I told you got the Apple MacBook.
Yeah.
So nope, no computers this year.
No. Well, I don't have a need right now for a laptop. I would really love to upgrade my Dell, but it works. I mean, now that I switched over to Windows 11 on the streaming PCs, I'm still kind of trying to get familiar with it. As we've been trying to uh,
Yes.
get things redone here with the podcast, and we found a little problem this evening that I've got to
Right.
research. But you know, um, but my Dell laptop, does not have the TPM module, so I can't upgrade it to Windows 10. So I mean to 11. So if I want to do Windows 11, I've got to get a new laptop. You know, and
Mm,
it may be worth down the road to do, but once again, the main thing for parents out there is they want to be very careful what they get for their kids. I will say move on from the Chromebooks. Yes, they're cheap, but you're not going to be able to use them a whole lot unless you are committed to using Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and that's it, and surf the internet via Chrome, and you don't care about any other software. Well, that's fine. Then, you can go and purchase a Chromebook, but they're very low power. It'll be a waste of money, you know. On the Windows side, there's many options. There's many options there by many manufacturers, and of course, there's Apple, as well. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see, in the next few months as we roll on to Christmas, what kind of new laptops get introduced by everybody. But right now, for 2022, for this beginning of the school year, these were the laptops that PC Magazine rated as the top 10 laptops for school, for home, and for play. So,
now the school also issues out laptops to the students.
yeah, well, BISD issued out Chromebooks. So,
Okay. See? And Los Fresnos issued out Dell.
yeah, yeah, so,
And the elementaries issued out iPads.
wow, wow. It's incredible that we still haven't gotten further down the road with the technology in the schools. I think part of it is probably the teachers. We still have a lot of teachers that are, I don't like to use the term anti-technology, but maybe they're scared. I
I
know.
know several that are, like you said, afraid of the new technology.
Yeah. And it became very prevalent, in the last 2 years with COVID, them not wanting to do the virtual or being scared of the virtual and then the Zoom and stuff like that. But it's to their peril, really, if they don't move with the times. I mean, there's people today going to school getting bachelor's degrees from these for-profit colleges and universities, and they never step into a classroom. It's all virtual.
Master's degrees also.
And master's
A
degrees, yeah.
A friend of mine gained a master's degree. He's never stepped foot in college.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah. So I mean, for this thing that, oh no, students can't learn. No, 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 no. I think that was just an excuse. Uh, and maybe it was an excuse because a lot of districts, especially poor ones, didn't have the technology or didn't know how to use it or the training. But it's just unfortunate that, we still want to do everything by pen and paper and an old, dusty old blackboard. It's sad, but it's all there. I mean, I wish I was a student today. I would have been the valedictorian, you know.
You would
But
have been right into it.
man, I tell you. By the way, everybody, you're kind of wondering why we didn't have our regularly scheduled podcast tonight. Um, there was a scheduling conflict, and so we're gonna have to reschedule that podcast. So I do apologize for that. It wasn't a trick. Of course, Steve, I let him know about 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
But serves him right for skipping out on my show last night,
Well, I was at a birthday party, sir, all right?
You were out there partying your ass off,
Hey, I was at a birthday party, all right? So...
And Doug couldn't be with us tonight because he had to go skinny dip at the pool at Rancho, So... But I don't know yet when we're going to schedule that podcast. One of the guys that is part of the society, he's actually out of town. So I don't know when he's going to be back. So we're going to probably schedule that sometime soon. We are going to have a third back to school podcast next week. I believe that the topic is going to be phones. Phones are pretty popular now with students, whether you're in elementary or junior high or high school, even in college, especially with a lot of the, recent shooting events and things like that. I think it's pretty important for students to have a way to communicate outside the classroom, in case of an emergency. So our last back to school episode is going to be about phones. Doug will be back to cover the entire iPhone line from the SE all the way to the 13 Pro Max or whatever it is now?
13 Pro Max, yes.
Yeah. So unlike the last time, which we just covered the SE, we're going to cover the entire line of iPhones. I'll also... While he does that, I'm going to be talking about the Android side, some of the phones also on the Android side that may be an option for your child. But, like I said, unlike, when we were in school, I think it's become pretty evident that, it is important to have a method of communication.
Right now, a phone is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Yeah, it's a necessity. So the old days of somebody saying they don't need a phone, I don't think that's an option anymore. And of course, you want to have a reliable phone. You want to have a reliable phone that you can count on. So that's going to be our third episode, our third back to school special. And then after that, the episode after that, we're going to review gaming graphics cards. We're going to look at the NVIDIA line as well as the AMD side. So for all those gamers out there that are interested in purchasing a graphics card, we're going to go through a whole episode of looking what some of those graphic cards are and which ones to get and so forth. So we're going to be pretty busy over the next few weeks. We're hoping to hit 52 episodes, hopefully by the end of the year. And, we've got the Apple event coming on in September, and then we're going to start our Black Friday deals once again in November. So we should be able to hit 52, I hope. So
hopefully.
Yeah. Alrighty, everybody. Well, that's it for tonight. We were glad that Steve was able to make it back. He's actually sober, which is good, so... and like I said, next week we'll have Doug back on. I think Steve's going to be working the night shift next week. Right?
Yeah, next week. So I won't be able to join y'all.
Yeah, so it's me and Doug next week. So if you stay tuned, that's going to be our third and last back to school episode. So I thank everybody for watching, and I hope you all have a good night.
Have a good night, people.